You know that feeling when you get a brilliant content idea, think I should definitely post that, and then you lose it? Or when you post randomly, then ghost your audience for weeks because life kind of gets in the way? Yeah, I've been there. In fact, I kind of still am here. And if you're a small business owner or a creator juggling a million things, you're probably there too. It's frustrating, you beat yourself up for it and end up exhausted anyway, and it's exactly why so many creators struggle with consistency. In this video, I'll show you exactly how I plan a full month of content using Notion without burning out or ever dropping ideas. It's all about creating a sustainable system that works for you and supports how you work as a creator. I'm Natalia and I help you create better content and grow on social media, so let's do this. Now, a quick word on where you should build your system. Anything that works for you is always the best option, but it's important to make sure every part of your content creation process is supported. I've used many methods throughout the years, from the more old school Google Docs and Sheets method through mapping by hand in a planner or on a piece of paper, all the way to apps like Asana or Trello, but my all-time favorite tool is, and most likely will always be, Notion. None of the other options ever worked because I couldn't really customize them the way I like to make things as efficient as possible and to also reflect how creating content usually works. Because Notion is so customizable, I was actually able to build a system that lets me capture every idea, to plan strategically, and move through content creation without getting stuck. It keeps every single thing in one place, from video ideas to social posts, scripts, and even collaboration details. And at this point, after 5 years, I've been able to perfect it to the point that I barely ever think about it. It just flows smoothly. I'll walk you through idea gathering, planning around themes, and how I make the most of every piece of content right here. Every good planning session starts with a bank of ideas, and this is really half of the success. I can't stress it enough. You have to build a good system to retain all the different ideas that come your way, because there's nothing worse than sitting down to plan a few next posts and then having nothing to work with. Now, this is what my Notion dashboard looks like, and to plan, I jump into my full YouTube dashboard. Now, before I dive in, I actually chose to separate my social media content calendar from my YouTube management dashboard. I'll explain why in just a moment, but for now, know that you don't have to do it this way, and it's absolutely fine to put your YouTube videos on your content calendar as well. Now, the default for me here is the Kanban style, or the board style, and it represents all the different steps that each video needs to go through. This means that I have a very clear path to get the video out there, everything's neatly organized, and I can actually see my progress all the time. Having the system is literally like an anchor to me because I never lose ideas. I can handle production easily from A to Z, plus all my related content and sponsors are also connected to it too. The best part is when I browse through the ideas that I've gathered, it's so easy to notice any themes and patterns that pop up and then plan content accordingly. We'll cover it in just a moment too. Now, I put all of my ideas in the first idea column, and I really mean all of them. I try to retain as much as I can because you never know down the line what can inspire you. Anytime one of you guys requests a video, when you ask a question that I can build on, when I see other interesting discussions happening elsewhere, when I brainstorm, when I research, when something just pops in my head, I create a new page for it right here. For each new video, I have set up a template that gets applied automatically. It has all the necessary sections to fill out and a space where I can quickly describe the concept behind it so that I know exactly what I meant when I pick the idea for creation later on. By the way, this is what my social media content calendar template looks like. It's very similar. The rules here are the same. You add your post ideas right here in the first column, and then you have all the different post templates here in this corner under new. For me personally, both of these have a bit of a different workflow, and since YouTube has always been the main platform for me, I actually decided to create a separate space for it. The way Notion works is that every database you create has its own set of properties, and since these are slightly different for social content versus YouTube, again, for myself, I keep things separate. Now, what I love about this template is that once I add an idea, I have the space to virtually scribble any notes, add an inspiration or reference that I'd be using later. So often I'll have an idea for a YouTube video and I already have fresh talking points to go along with it. So I just pop them in at this stage too. Anything that really helps me retain the ideas better and know exactly what I was thinking about at that time. Now, even if you don't publish often, collecting ideas is a habit well worth building because this is where consistency really starts. You can't commit to a publishing schedule if you don't have enough things to talk about regularly. Okay, now that you have enough ideas on your dashboard, let's talk about the actual planning. Now, I don't batch content in the traditional way where you sit down and create a month's worth of posts in one go, although I hope you know at this point that there is no one way, just different methods to get what you want. Instead, my process starts with one big idea, which for me is almost always a YouTube video, and then anything else just trickles down from there. I plan around 4 to 6 upcoming YouTube videos, which maps to about 1 to 1.5 months of content. Once those are on my calendar, they automatically set the theme for each week. And because I've planned them all in one go, I can actually tie the subjects together so that everything flows, or I can include any series, but it's not a necessity, just something that I like to do. This is why very often a theme for the month emerges too, because the videos go together nicely. And as an example, my overarching monthly theme for this September is start creating. Finally, the video you're watching works perfectly here because I'm giving you my own blueprint on how to finally get organized and kick off your creation easily. For context, I have other videos planned, like the follow-up to this video or part 2 with my actual content creation workflow, or a very practical tutorial on creating a carousel in Canva. Again, each of these will mark a smaller weekly theme too and help me create content on that subject only. And mind you, I am a YouTuber and this is my main platform, but you don't have to be to use this system. I find that setting themes for yourself is very, very helpful, especially when you're a beginner, because you can be very strategic about what you choose to post. You can laser focus on the subject and then approach it from a different few angles. And you're also repeating your messaging, making it stronger and more effective. No matter what content you choose to create, a theme can serve as a guide for you and works just as well if you're mainly on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, if you send emails exclusively, etc. So once my YouTube videos are planned, I actually script and record 2 at a time. This way I only need to film once every 2 weeks instead of constantly being in production mode. And also my living room turns into a whole studio setup. So for the sake of my fiance's sanity and my own, we need our sofa back. Then the whole trickling down process begins. One of the first things that I do is to send a newsletter to my email list, ideally on the day that the video goes live or the day after. And I do this for 2 reasons. One is to serve and nurture my email community. I love the people on my list. I always want to give them extra value, whether it's, deeper insights, more exclusive tips, or just simply personal stories where we get to know each other better. If you want in on that, I'll leave a link down below for you to sign up too. And the second reason is to actually drive traffic to my YouTube videos. Simple as that. This is my second bigger piece of content where I might add more unique points and build on the ideas shared on YouTube. This is why whenever I plan my YouTube content, the first thing I do next is to create new entries on my social calendar for my newsletter and then link it up this way. I love this method because whenever I jump into my YouTube video, I instantly see what newsletter and then what social content is connected to it. And it's not just helpful on the planning and creation stage, but also later on. So often I get questions from you guys, comments from my audience, or simply I want to just repost something because the time is right for it. And I know exactly which video covered the subject and what other content I can share as a reference to just help the best that I can. Again, it comes back to the themes, right? But back to the planning. After mapping out my YouTube videos along with the corresponding emails, I then atomize my content. And don't worry, I'll explain exactly what I mean right now. The long form video is the foundation and it's designed to be a more in-depth, well-rounded video with all the different insights that work for the theme or the specific subject that I'm covering. This way, I can easily break it down into smaller pieces. And when I say atomization, I don't just mean cutting clips and reposting. That's part of it, of course, but the bigger picture is my whole system. Now, I call it my repurposing matrix. It's a working title, but also kind of not, since I've been calling it that for a good 4 years. It goes way beyond reposting. I think I'll cover it more in depth in the coming video with the specifics on how the actual whole workflow goes and how I create it. But here I want to explain what it looks like on a planning basis. Every time I atomize, I look at what the video contains. What were the main talking points? Have I shared any specific strategies? Maybe some smaller tips. Maybe I talked about something aspirational or a big pain point, or maybe I just shared a personal story that might be impactful. This is my process first. It helps me understand the structure and translate the most important parts into social content. Then I think of all the different types of formats that I could repurpose it into. So for example, I can transform this video into a full breakdown carousel where each slide is a different talking point I covered. I could do a talking head reel on only one of the talking points, Or I could create a simple B-roll where I put the exact words I use in my script on a nice aesthetic clip of me doing things like making a matcha, typing on a laptop, or setting up my YouTube equipment. It can be anything really. But it's not just the video stuff. I can easily share a single infographic or a listicle post listing the steps I've shared or strategies that I covered. Can I extract a personal story and then transform it into a storytelling, photo-based carousel? The possibilities are massive, and it's a great exercise to think outside the box. The goal is to maximize what I've already created while making sure it fits every platform naturally. The best part is that I've created a button for myself that is a part of every single video template I create within my Notion system. So with a simple click, I can actually do this analysis easily and quickly. And with my repurposing matrix, I'm not exaggerating when I say that for each video, I actually end up with 30, 40 separate content ideas. Of course, I won't use all of them. I just shortlist the best ones to fill the calendar. And this is why I'm saying a good system can actually support you every step of the way. And again, you don't have to start with a YouTube video. This could be a podcast, a blog post, an email newsletter, or simply just that weekly theme where you figure out all the things you could be or want to talk about on the subject with the use of the matrix. Of course, I also leave room for spontaneity. At this stage of my journey, I have a constant flow of audience questions, video requests, and timely topics that pop up. That makes planning way easier. But even if you don't have it yet, there are ways to figure out what your audience would love to see. Try to watch this video next. But this method gives me so much variety, so many ways to talk to different people in my audience, because some people prefer to swipe through carousels, others will prefer talking head reels, and it also gives me so much room to express myself as a creator where I can just genuinely gravitate towards things that fuel me. In a broader sense, I love that we're kind of moving back towards more content variety on social media. For a while, everything just revolved around short-form video, and to be fair, I'm just so tired. I still love TikTok, but I also love reading blog posts. I love listening to podcasts, watching long-form YouTube videos, and even learning from carousels. I need that variety, and I feel like it stimulates my mind a lot more. When I just scroll through the Reels tab or TikTok, it's all kind of uniform. It's very easy to just get sucked in and doom scroll for hours. But when I'm able to consume a variety of different formats, my brain actually gets inspired on so many different levels, and I'm also less likely to get too inspired, if you know what I mean. As a side note, this is probably the reason why I stopped watching anything in my own niche, especially here on YouTube, because I don't want to be subconsciously influenced to the point that I talk about a specific point from the same perspective or inadvertently just use similar language. And it kind of sucks sometimes because I'd love to be able to also support my friends in the community, but I want all my interactions to also be genuine and very authentic, and without watching something, it just doesn't feel sincere. So for my own entertainment, I normally just consume completely different content. And to end this little detour, I find variety formats much more compelling as a creator, but also as a consumer. Let me know what you think. Are you happy about this shift too, or does the Reels dominance just not bother you that much? With this variety in mind, this is my general platform strategy. I create unique content for 3 different places. First is YouTube, my primary platform. Then it's Instagram, my secondary platform. And of course, my email list, which is absolutely invaluable. And if you're, as a creator, don't have an email list and write newsletters regularly, you're seriously missing out. If you want me to talk about it in a future video, then drop me a comment so that I know you'd be interested in it. And of course, everything else for me is just distribution. I repurpose my content very widely, but I don't create from scratch for every platform. And in case you're wondering, no, I still haven't gotten into X or Threads and anything like this. And there's another big benefit to how I use Notion, and that's organization. I think you'll see in action a lot better in the second part of the video, but I add so much information to my dashboard all the time that it's literally the center of the operations for me. As an example, nearly all of my content visuals are here, all of my scripts are here, sponsored video details, content relations, strategy work, content pillars, playlists, content series, live links, like every single thing I try to retain within that system. It's easy to find, it's easy to reference later, but most of all, it's actually then easy to create. As an example of visuals and organization, I can of course talk about Canva, since Canva is where I design almost everything. So So YouTube thumbnails, Instagram posts, Reels covers, it just naturally fits into my Notion system. Now, for YouTube thumbnails, I actually upload them as a page cover so they're visible in my dashboard. I also then keep alternate designs here in case I want to just swap them out later. And if I sketch any thumbnail concepts in advance, which I often do, those ideas get stored in here too. For Reels, I store my covers inside Notion so I can quickly grab them on the go. If I create the actual reel in Canva, I will embed it directly inside Notion using the Canva share link. Same goes with videos made in Descript. I embed them so everything stays in one place. This way, my planning, my scripts, and design assets all live in one central hub. And listen, Notion can feel very intimidating at first because it's basically a blank page. That's why templates like mine exist, because someone just worked it out for you before and you end up with a plug-and-play system so you can focus on creating, stay consistent, and actually enjoy the process. My template is fully customizable so you can actually tweak it to fit your own content workflow too, and you can grab it from the description down below. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and if you want to see how I take each idea and then move it through my full content workflow from script to editing to published, make sure you subscribe because that's coming in part 2. You'll find it right here when it's published. For now, watch this video next to build a solid content strategy. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.